Shalom, brothers and sisters. I want to give all the praise and the glory to the almighty powerful strength of our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the Son of the Most High. I want to do a quick video to clarify exactly what I had said in a previous video in the Kingdom of a Scattered People video. As I said, our people are scattered throughout the four corners of the world, and the Most High is going to redeem 1/3 of our people who are scattered. And I think I specifically had said that we're going to come out of all nations and we're going to look like all kind of stuff. Now, I don't want to get that confused with this Hebrew Israelite, spiritual Hebrew doctrine that's out here. They're claiming it's spiritual Israel and that any nation of people can be grafted in and now can be an Israelite. That's complete confusion. That's like saying that a Caucasian man can be a Negro from the slave trade because of the law. That's complete confusion and that's falsehood. We are a chosen genealogy, a chosen seed of people coming out of Israel, coming out of Jacob. 12 tribes of us are chosen people. Now, I don't want to get that confused with that Jehovah Witness type of doctrine, because that's exactly what it is in that Hebrew, spiritual Hebrew doctrine. It's basically taking a page out of the Jehovah Witness book, out of the Watchtower, because they say basically almost the same thing. That like a Chinaman, a Chinese can be a Negro from the slave trade if he puts on the commandments or he accepts whatever doctrine it is that the Jehovah Witnesses teach. Because I've heard Caucasians speak of them being of whatever genealogy coming out of the 12 tribes because it's a spiritual Israel. That's complete falsehood. Now, I don't want to get my words confused with that. What I mean, I want to give a visual and break down exactly what I meant by our people looking like all kind of stuff. Because we're going to come out of different nations. He's going to gather 1/3 of our people as well as 144,000 from the four corners of the world. And our seed has been mingled among the people. There's no doubt in that. So I want to first go here in Numbers chapter 1, verse number 18. And it says, "And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls." So in the numbering of the people in the wilderness, the pedigrees of their families were determined by the house of their fathers. Now you can go into all tribes and it's going to tell you 12 different times that the pedigrees were their generations after the families was done by the house of their fathers. You can see that 12 different times in each tribe by the house of their fathers. Because the father possesses the seed. Your pedigree is determined by the father. Now, as I said, my mother is a so-called Mexican. I'm not an Israelite from the tribe of Issachar because of my mother. I come from the tribe of Judah because of my father. It's a complete manipulation and a complete confusion that these spiritual Hebrews are bringing to the table. It's just straight confusion. And definitely isn't keeping the Torah. Some of them claim that they're keeping the Torah, but it's a spiritual Israel. It's complete falsehood. Be it the will of the Most High, later I'll do a video that completely debunks that with scripture, that entire doctrine. But I want to go into a few scriptures before I go into a visual of exactly what I meant by our people looking like all kind of things, because our seed has been mingled among so many different people. Like many of us have had that Solomon little spirit in 1 Kings chapter 11, where he had mingled himself with all kind of nations. He had many different wives coming from many different nations of people. You definitely have the Hispanics, or known as Ephraim, who have mingled themselves among the people. So our people definitely, when it comes to women, have mingled themselves with different nations. As well as us being a scattered people. When you're a scattered people, you're going to mingle yourself among others. Some of us, one in some way, shape, or form, one of your seed or offspring are going to mingle with a different nation of people, just like they did in the book of Ruth. In the book of Ruth, our people, specifically out of Judah, mingled themselves with the Moabites. But I want to show and prove this with the scriptures here in Isaiah 49:8, where it says, "Thus saith the Most High, in an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in a day of salvation have I helped thee. And I will preserve thee and give thee give thee for a covenant of the people to establish the earth to cause to inherit the desolate heritages. So we are going to inherit the desolate heritages. I wanted to bring this scripture out first because I wanted to make it known that this isn't speaking about something that has already happened. This is speaking about the very near future. The salvation of our people, and in the day of salvation have I hoped thee is speaking about something that is very soon at hand. So now I want to go down here in verse number 12, where it said, behold, these shall come from far and lo, these from the north and from the west, and these from the land of Sinim. So Sinim was more towards the east, the far east. So here's it speaking north and from the west, and these from the land of Sinim. The land of Sinim, when you go into the understanding of it, is speaking of, we'll go right here, the word means thorns. It says, a people living at the extremity of the known world may be identified with the inhabitants of southern China. So all the way into China, that our people will be redeemed from, all from the four corners of the world. So that definitely includes China, which is, in ancient China, it was known as Sinai or Sinim, when it's translated from the Hebrew. Sinim and Sinai is the same thing, which is all the way to the far east from Israel. So he speaks to the north and from the west and from Sinai, Sinim. Okay, so I want to give a few examples of this, because here in, as well, when I read from Revelation 5 and 9, it says, and they sung a new song, saying, thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to the Most High by thy blood, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. Okay, so that doesn't mean that all nations and all kindreds are going to receive. Here in verse 10 it says, and has made us unto our power kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. So just because it speaks here out of all every kindred and tongue and people and nation, as I read in the video of the scattered people, that we've been scattered because of the curses. We're not all in just one area. We're not all just like as we was in ancient Egypt, just in Goshen, or our people that have been scattered throughout the four corners of the world. So as I said, I don't want to get that confused with what I said, our people having a very different look in very different countries. I don't want that to be confused with this spiritual Israel doctrine out here, because that's not what I'm speaking of. What I'm speaking of is the fact that we've been mingled, and your pedigree is determined by the house of your father. So I want to go here and give us an example of this. I used to be into street ball a little bit, a little basketball. So I found this video and it completely reminded me of our people coming from Sinim. So as you see here, this brother got an afro. Now I don't want to judge by the appearance and say that, okay, well, this is an Israelite, because I don't know his father. His mother could be of a Negroid stock or from one of the 12 tribes of Israel. So I can't just say because I know him, but I just want to give a sense of what the look is, of what he may possibly, our people are going to definitely look like. Because if it's written, it's definitely going to happen. So as you see here, he has an afro, and he definitely could possibly be an Israelite scattered throughout Sinim or China. But I just wanted to basically give an example of the look. And when it says coming from all tongues and all kindreds, this is what it's speaking about. So let's hear it for a second. So when I said our people are going to be speaking all kind of languages, including Cantonese or Chinese, whatever language they speak, and this is exactly what I was talking about. This is somewhat of the look that I was speaking of too when I had actually mentioned it. Another example is right here in Japan. This is a 2015 Miss Universe from Nagasaki, Japan's Miss Universe. And there was a dilemma because of the fact that she has Negroid genetics. There's some Negroid in her as well as Japan. She's from Japan as well, or has Japanese in her. Now, as I said, I don't know her entire background and who her father is, but the seed is determined, your pedigree is determined by the seed of your father. So if her father was a Negro from the slave trade and she has been scattered over into Japan, that would definitely make her an Israelite, as well as this man. It would make him an Israelite if his father was of a Negro stock, or even his grandfather, and mingled himself with the Chinese people. So I definitely don't want to get confused with the Hebrew Israelite, spiritual Hebrew doctrine that's out here falsely. This as well. As I said, I'm half Hispanic. My mother's a so-called Aztec, and this is one of my cousins, whose father I had mentioned before in one of my videos of being a cooned out Mexican. He has children by Caucasian women, and he on the inside is a white supremacist. Because they even have cousins that are black, and they still got that very much Deuteronomy 28, hating thy brother curse upon them. Because they have love for the Caucasians more than they do for the Negroes, who are their own brother, even their own Hispanic people. But this is exactly what I mean. Blue eyes, can pass for a Caucasian. You can never tell by judging from the appearance, because he very well has the Israelite seed of the promise, which is coming out of Issachar. And this is what an Issacharite could look like if you mingle yourself with a Caucasian, and they definitely have that spirit, as you can find in Hosea, I believe chapter 7 verse 8, where it speaks of them being mingled amongst the people. They have mingled themselves among the people is definitely strong in the Aztecs and Hispanics as well. But also, I don't want to get it confused with Judah having a little bit of that spirit as well, because I myself have never been discriminative in my lack of knowledge. And my lack of knowledge being a so-called African American or African Mexican American, which I would have called myself, I didn't discriminate, because in my destroyed brain, thought that I was, I'm a mixed man. How can I discriminate against any race? But until you come into the knowledge of the scriptures, and you definitely understand that these things have consequence and these things cannot be done. Not saying that you don't love your people, but it's just something that when you've been brainwashed in America to believe that it doesn't matter what nationality it is, if you love somebody, which is complete falsehood, you can't do these things, then you wake up to the knowledge that these things are iniquity. But definitely, I don't want to get confused when I spoke of our people coming out of all nations and that blood out of every kindred, being gathered out of all nations of people, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. This is exactly what I had in mind when I said that we're going to be looking like all kind of stuff, because we've been scattered. So I definitely wanted to clarify that, so that my words don't get confused with this crazy doctrine out here claiming that an Arab can be a Hispanic, or that a Caucasian man could be from the tribe of Judah. Even though in the hood, you got brothers that you call white boy. They Negroes who have mingled themselves with a Caucasian woman, and some of their children come out looking more Caucasian, even though the father is a Negro. So like I said, we're gonna be looking like all kind of stuff. But it's that chosen seed that the Most High is going to move to be completely lawful and sealed with the laws and the testimony of the Most High, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments on a level perfect enough for the righteous redemption of our people. So as I said, we're going to look like all kind of stuff. This is exactly what I had in mind, is that we're going to look like many different nations, because we've been scattered among the Japanese, we've been scattered among the land of Sinim, and our people are the Hispanics even here, as well as Negroes, have mingled themselves with the Caucasian and every nation of people that's out there. So when I said that we're going to be looking like all kind of things, we're of a speckled bird, and that, the cake not turned, all these things that are speaking of the look of the chosen heritage of the Most High. So I just want to clarify that in this quick video, brothers and sisters, and want to continue our people, and just want to encourage our people to continue increasing in knowledge and increasing in the faith, increasing your understanding of the scriptures. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to say shalom.